All right, let's dive into a topic that honestly trips up a ton of people, especially in the tech world, the alternative minimum tax and what it means for your incentive stock options.
So picture this. You exercise your stock options, you buy the shares, but you don't sell them. You're just holding on. You wouldn't know any tax yet, right? I mean, you haven't actually made any money until you sell. Seems logical.
Well, for anyone with incentive stock options, or ISOs, it's not that simple. There's this huge gotcha called the alternative minimum tax, or AMT. And it's the reason you can get a massive and very surprising tax bill on profit that only exists on paper.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about this phantom tax trap. Then we'll explore the weird parallel universe of the AMT. After that, we'll look at the two big choices you have when you sell. Cover 6 strategies to get ahead of this thing, and this is the best part, show you how you can actually get that AMT you paid back.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of the matter, the phantom tax trap. This is the part that catches so many people completely off guard.
So let's do a quick refresher. An ISO is an awesome perk, right? It's your right to buy company stock at a locked-in, usually very low price. That's your strike price. Doesn't matter if the stock is now worth way, way more. You get it at a discount.
And that gap, the difference between what the stock is actually worth in the market and that low price you paid, that's called the bargain element. Now, for your normal, regular taxes, you don't have to worry about this on-paper profit when you just exercise and hold. But for the AMT, it's a totally different ballgame.
And this is where we get this wild concept of phantom income. The AMT system looks at that bargain element, that on-paper gain, and says, yep, that counts as income this year. Even though you haven't sold a single share, you haven't seen a dime of cash, it's income that you can't spend.
And you can see right here how the two paths split. For your regular taxes, your income is just your salary. That bargain element? Ignored. But when you do the AMT calculation, boom, they add that 15 grand right on top of your salary, which can push your taxable income way up.
So what's going on here? The easiest way to think about it is that the US has two completely separate tax systems running in parallel. And every single year, you have to calculate your tax bill under both of them, and then you have to pay whichever one is higher. Wild, right?
This whole system wasn't just created to be confusing. It was actually designed way back in 1969. The goal was to make sure that very wealthy people couldn't use a bunch of deductions and loopholes to pay zero tax. And adding back things like the ISO bargain element is one of the main ways it makes sure you pay a certain minimum amount.
Okay, this is absolutely critical to understand. Because of this parallel system, you now have two different cost bases for the exact same shares. Your regular tax basis is just what you paid for them, your strike price. Simple. But your AMT basis is the much higher fair market value on the day you exercised. You have to track both of these. It's essential.
So because you've got these two sets of rules and two cost bases, you're faced with a huge decision when you finally decide to sell. Your choice sends you down two very different roads, or what the IRS calls dispositions.
On one side, you've got the qualifying disposition. This is the patient path. You hold your stock for at least a year after you exercise. The reward? Much lower long-term capital gains tax rates. But the catch is, this path is what triggers the AMT. On the other side, you have the disqualifying disposition. This is the fast path. You sell sooner, you get your cash right away, and you avoid the AMT completely. But the trade-off is that a big chunk of your profit gets taxed at your much higher ordinary income tax rate.
So what do? This is the big question every single person with ISOs has to ask themselves. Is it worth holding on, taking on the market risk of a single stock for a potentially much better tax outcome? Or do you play it safer, cash out, and accept the higher tax bill? There is no one-size-fits-all answer here.
But here's the good news. You're not just a passenger on this ride. You can actually be strategic about this. So let's run through 6 proactive strategies you can discuss with a financial pro to help manage this whole AMT puzzle.
Okay, let's just touch on these. You could exercise early in the calendar year, which gives you more time to see how the year shakes out. Or you could exercise when that bargain element, that spread, is really small, which minimizes the AMT hit. And here's a weird one. Sometimes it actually makes sense to exercise in a year when you're making a lot of money, because your regular tax might already be so high that the AMT doesn't even kick in. See, there are real strategies here.
And now, we've arrived at the most important and I think most hopeful part of this whole thing. That AMT tax you paid back when you exercised your shares, it's not gone. It's not lost forever.
You really have to stop thinking of it as a penalty and start thinking of it as a prepayment. Seriously, every dollar of AMT you pay because of your ISOs generates a dollar-for-dollar tax credit. You're basically giving the government an interest-free loan that you get to claim back down the road.
And this timeline lays it out perfectly. Look, year 1, you exercise. You pay the AMT, and that creates this credit that sits on your account. Year 2, you just hold the shares, carry that credit forward. Then, year 3, or whenever you sell, your regular tax bill from the sale is probably going to be pretty high. And that's when you cash in your credit to directly reduce the tax you owe.
And this isn't just some abstract theory. There was a real case where a client, just by carefully tracking her AMT basis and using her credits over the years, saved $98,000 in taxes when her company was finally acquired. Almost $100,000. That's why this is so important.
So if you walk away with anything today, let it be this. You have 2 cost bases, regular and AMT. You have to track them both. The AMT you pay on ISOs creates a credit. You can carry that credit forward forever. And you use that credit to lower your regular tax bill when you finally sell. Tracking this stuff is the only way to make sure you don't get taxed twice on the same money. Which brings us all the way back to the main question. Now that you understand the whole system, the phantom income, the 2 different tax bases, and the credit payback, you can make a real informed decision. What kind of investor are you? Are you focused on squeezing out every last bit of tax savings, even if it means holding a risky, concentrated stock position? Or are you focused on managing that risk, diversifying your wealth, and locking in your gains, even if it costs you a bit more in tax? That's the choice. And now, you're equipped to make it.